for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur.
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup.
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, the Sick Podcast on this Wednesday, November 15. How is everyone doing tonight? I hope you're doing well. It's an off night for the Montreal Canadiens. The Laval Rocket, by the way, we're in action tonight. I'm going to get an update, I would imagine, very shortly from the Cavalleros, Agnello, Juliana, and Sammy, who are at Master Control. But the last time I checked, the Laval Rocket was mounting a pretty amazing comeback. But then at one point, I had to stop and get ready for the show. So anyway, I'll find out for you, and I'll give you an update just a second. Some of you are probably watching, so you probably have the update before I do. But anyway, for those of you who weren't watching, we're going to try and get to you and get it to you as soon as possible. Once again, the Sick Podcast. You're watching live on YouTube, live on Facebook, and live on Twitter. A couple of guests will join us tonight in about 30 minutes' time. Marc-André Perreault from TVA Sport will join us. And to start off the show, he's a regular collaborator on Wednesdays. Last week, I kept him for about an hour and 10 minutes. And today I said, I can't do that to him. So I called Marc-André Perreault. I said, Marc-André, can you give me 30 minutes tonight? He said, yes. So I put him at around 10:30. Craig Button, TSN Director of Scouting. How are you,
Tony? Have you told MA that he might have to wait till 11:15?
I'm not going to keep you that long tonight, as much as I'd like to, but I can't do that to you again 2 weeks in a row. I had this. You know, you are one of the. I've been doing this for 22 years, and not to say that I've met you often, because I haven't. Not to say that we've broken bread together or gone for a drink, because we haven't. But you're the type of guy that I feel like I've known for the longest time. You are one of the nicest guys in the media that I've crossed paths with. And, even though last week you said, Tony, this was my pleasure and we can go on forever, I just had this visual. I said, when he hung up, I said, this guy probably wants to kill me right now. We went like an hour and 10 minutes, but you're the nicest guy in the world, man.
Well, I said this, my two girls, they're 30 and 27. I'll just give you a little bit of an update. I just became a grandfather on Saturday night. My oldest daughter gave birth to a baby girl, Blair Alexandra. And so it's so much fun and everything. But we only had one rule in our house, Tony. Our rule was simply this: be nice to everybody all the time. There's no cost to being nice. And being nice means, we used to say, being nice to your sister, being nice to your parents, being nice. Doesn't mean you have to be best friends, but there's just being nice to people, being polite is not hard to do. So I appreciate the, your kind words and everything. But here's how I feel about this. In our country, and certainly in the province of Quebec, hockey has a place that courses through the veins of people. And you love to watch your team. You go through the agony of defeat and the joys of victory and everything. And your passion and your joy of covering a team that you love dearly and that you've seen those great joys and some of the disappointments and defeats. To me, that's something that I feel so fortunate to be part of, being in the media in this country and covering hockey. So when you say to me, there's never going to be a time I'm going to finish and say I want to kill you, because it flows. And to me, it's natural. And it ends up being 40 minutes or 50 minutes or an hour. And it doesn't matter to me, because what you're trying to do, Tony, is tremendous. You connect with the fans of the Montreal Canadiens, and to me, asking me to be part of this is truly an honor.
All right. So I just got an update. Thank you very much for that. And congratulations on being a grandfather. I would imagine it's just a real special feeling. The Laval Rocket were down. I think it was 4-0, but you know what? I saw that 4-1.
It was 4-0.
It was okay. They won by a score of 6-4. Isn't that something? Wow. What a game earlier this evening then at Place Bell in Laval. Laval Rocket come back and win the game by a score of 6-4. I would imagine that a couple of Montreal Canadiens prospects had some pretty big games. I'm willing to bet that Sean Farrell and Joshua Roy probably did pretty well for themselves. We'll find that out in just a second. You know, you started with this whole, how much we're passionate about hockey in Canada and how much we're passionate about hockey in Quebec. I don't know if you got wind of this. I imagine you did. And I don't know if you did, just how much of a pulse of it you got. But we're in the middle of a big scandal here in Quebec because a story surfaced yesterday that the Quebec government is willing to pay the Los Angeles Kings anywhere between $5 to $7 million to play a couple of games near the end of their preseason next year, of course, at the Centre Vidéotron in Quebec City. Now, the Canadiens have played there before. Now, the Canadiens are coming out, and the Canadiens are saying, hold on a second here. They're letting members of the media know that they were willing to pay pretty much for free. But now there's other voices coming out saying the Canadiens forgot about Quebec a long time ago. And once they heard that the Los Angeles Kings would be going to Quebec City and play a couple of games there, then they put their hand up and said, hold on a second, why are you calling Los Angeles? We'll come. And, I'm part of I'm on a TV show called GEC on TVA Sports, and I have a segment there with Jean-Charles Lajoie. He had a very interesting point. His point was, if this is causing an uproar, the Canadiens are letting members of the media know that, they would have played there for free. Canadiens aren't happy about this, that the Kings are going there. Well, if the Canadiens aren't happy about the Kings going to Quebec for a couple of days, JC asked the question, how could they be happy about the Quebec Nordiques possibly coming back one day?
I don't think they're going to be. And maybe happy is the wrong word.
Craig, if I can, and I'm sorry to interrupt, I just want to add to this conversation. On the record, they've always said that they would endorse the Nordiques returning to the National Hockey League. We've heard people who have worked for the organization. I believe it was Michel Therrien came out at one point and said, listen, I can tell you, when I was there, they were against it.
Okay, so when we think about the Montreal Canadiens and we think about the business of the National Hockey League, the Quebec Nordiques left a long time ago. It's going on 30 years. The business of hockey has changed. And, in Quebec, the vast majority of people in the province have been Montreal Canadiens fans. Now, the Quebec Nordiques fans, it was a great passion. Come on, Tony. We remember the 80s. We remember some fabulous battles, and everything that went with it. But the business has changed. And, when we say the Montreal Canadiens are against it, I think we need to go deeper. Why are they against it? Is it because they don't want competition economically, or is it because they don't want competition on the ice? I can't imagine it's not because of on the ice competition. Economically, the business has changed. You got to be able to support a $90 million cap now in the National Hockey League. And, you look at different places around the league and who can afford it and who can't. So I think that the question for the Quebec Nordiques or a franchise in Quebec is, can they support a $90 million payroll and then all the costs that go with it to come back to the NHL? Because it's not just about, you got to be able to contribute. You can't just be a taker in the revenue streams. You got to be able to contribute, and what it's at. So I think understanding, what it means by being against it. Is that the Montreal Canadiens saying we don't want the Nordiques or a Quebec hockey franchise? Or is it the business realities that say, hey, listen, you know what? We don't think they can support it. Now, I can anticipate the argument. Well, how do you defend the Arizona Coyotes? Fair point. Fair point, right? And everything that goes with it. The LA Kings coming to – I don't get why the LA Kings want to come and play in Quebec City. Like, why? Like, what I think the reason is because they're getting paid to come there.
Of course.
That's why they're coming.
That's
right?
one reason.
Yeah. So why wouldn't the government go to Montreal and say, hey, listen, we think it's really important. We think it's really important for you to support us. We're trying to do this. And, we'd like you to come for free, but we'll pay you. Why didn't they go to Montreal first?
I don't have the answer to that. What I do know is the last time Montreal played in Quebec, they did not dress a very veteran lineup. They dressed a very American Hockey League lineup, prospects who weren't going to make the team. I would be willing to bet that if the Los Angeles Kings, if this thing goes through here, that Phil Deneau will play the 2 games. Pierre-Luc Dubois will play the 2 games. Marc Bergevin will be around. Luc Robitaille will be around. There will be interviews going on. I would imagine those employed by the organization from La Belle Province will be very involved. Somebody brought up a point here on the YouTube chat live, and it's a pretty good point, saying, well, if they're going to get a team to go to Quebec City, if it's not going to be the Montreal Canadiens, why don't they ask the Colorado Avalanche to go?
Very another fair point, right? And and again, teams are looking to get their costs covered. The LA Kings are running a business, and if the reports are true that they're getting between $5 and $7 million to come and play, that not only pays for their entire training camp, that pays for a lot of costs surrounding the operation of your team. So if I'm the LA Kings, I'm going, okay, I'll travel to Quebec City to play a few games, and Luke and Philip Deneau can come in and talk, and we know how special they are as French Canadians and how revered they are in the province of Quebec. But economically, I'm not so sure the Los Angeles Kings would be all excited about coming to Quebec City if they weren't getting compensated.
And listen, we know why conversation took place. The Kings Arena will be undergoing renovations during that time, so they got to go somewhere. So they're looking to make some money. It kind of makes sense in that regard. But I have another theory. They're trying to get Pierre-Luc Dubois' contract paid for the season. That's what it is.
Well, again, economically and financially, that's just good business, isn't it? Right? And, we talk about Philip Deneau and we talk about Luc Robitaille, but Pierre-Luc Dubois is also a big draw. And, when you think about, I think his father, Eric, played a handful of games. He was drafted by the Nordiques. He might have, I'm not sure if Eric ever played a game, but if he played some games, it was a handful of games for the Nordiques, but I know his father was drafted by the Nordiques. But we'll see. If there's not controversy, if there's not, it's a different battle of Quebec now. The battle takes place in different places.
I hear you. I'll just say this though, in ending, you asked the question: can Quebec City support a salary cap of up to about $90 million over the next couple of years? I don't have the answer to that question, but I will give you an opinion on something. It's a couple of occasions now. I think we see 11,000 and change in the stands in Winnipeg. And my opinion is that you would always see numbers superior to that in Quebec.
Fair point. And there's going to be situations around the league. And that's why I brought up Arizona, you bring up Winnipeg. Fair points. And that is the pushback, right? But, the owner, part of what's happening too is we saw $650 million expansion fee for Seattle. We're seeing the Ottawa Senators go for $950 million US. Montreal Canadiens valuation at $2.5 billion. What could the NHL get in an expansion fee? And who's ready to pay it? And I think that those all become factors economically, not only for Quebec City, but any city that's interested in getting a team there.
All right.
And the league is not interested in letting teams move because given a choice of letting a team move and saying, well, we can get $800 million for a franchise, it's pretty simple what the league wants to do.
Let's move on to another topic now. Marty St. Louis says, in his opinion, the Montreal Canadiens just played their best 4 games in a row since he's been there. I haven't gone through the entire schedule to see if I agree with that or not. This is what I know. Their last 4 games, Agnello, Sammy, Juliana at Master Control. If you can bring up the schedule for the month of November, and here we have it right here. Okay. The last 4 games dates back to last week on Thursday. The Canadiens were in Detroit. They beat the Red Wings by a score of 3-2. That was in overtime. A couple of nights later, they beat the Boston Bruins in Montreal by the same score of 3-2, also in overtime. Night after that, they lose 5-2 to the Vancouver Canucks here in Montreal, and last night lost by a score of 2-1. So what I do know is that it's 2 wins and 2 losses. I also know that 3 of those games were 1-goal games. I also know that last night the Montreal Canadiens could have deserved a better fate. They had more shots and more scoring chances than the Calgary Flames. On Sunday night, their best players got totally outplayed by Vancouver's best players, who were fuming coming into the game because they had lost the night before in Toronto. I'm not so sure with Marty's assessment. He would know better than I would, though. But what did you make of the last 3 or 4 games and what Marty had to say?
Well, I was in Vegas for the game that they played in Vegas that they lost in the shootout, and it was a fantastic game. And, they didn't win that game. So, Marty's perspective, I think it has to be taken through the lens of what the expectations of his team are. You think about beating a really good Boston Bruins team, good Boston Bruins team. You think about losing and then having to go into Detroit, and Detroit's been humming along pretty good, and they did play good there. Listen, Jacob Markstrom won the game last night for the Calgary Flames. So you look at 3 of those 4 games, take away the Vancouver games. I think it's fair. I think it's fair what Marty's saying, but again, take it in context of the lens he's looking at it through. He keeps talking about taking steps. He uses the word truth. We need to be truthful with and Marty. The one thing I think that everybody knows about Marty, if they didn't know it already, and if they don't know it, you're going to know it. Marty's truthful. Marty's not saying that to just say it. If they're not good enough or players aren't playing well enough, he's going to say that. So, using, his philosophy of truth and being truthful with yourselves and everything, I think there is some good signs. I think one of the things for the Montreal Canadiens, and this is still part of their, their objective to become better, to become tighter. Defensively, they're still a team that is at the bottom of the league. Despite playing really well in these last stretch of games, bottom of the league in defense in so many different areas. And, those are areas you're going to have to improve in. But as a coach, you don't want to be always focusing in on the negatives. Trust me when I tell you this, and you don't have to trust me blindly.
Yeah.
Marty's working on the negatives.
Yeah.
But he doesn't need to talk about the negatives. He wants to emphasize the positives.
Speaking of positives, he's been pretty happy with the play of Juraj Slafkovsky over the last couple of games. I got to tell you, there's still some things where it seems like he gets a little bit nervous, I find, around the net, or he hesitates, or he's probably thinking too much. Do I shoot? Do I pass? What's my play selection here? But one thing I have liked, he's been much more physically involved over the last couple of games, I find.
Well, asserting himself, right? Establishing a presence, serving notice to your opponents. Hey, you're going to have to deal with me physically now. One of the things, and I'm just going to try to demonstrate this, when you're a big guy and you want to put your hands out there like this, and it becomes easy, the good players just swipe the puck off. Your size doesn't matter now. I talked about this, that he's learning how to use his size, didn't really know how to use his size. But now when I'm you're seeing progression in that area where he is making it difficult for opponents. He's saying to them, you're going to have to handle my size now. And there is a confidence there. He's getting in and around the net a little bit more. He's driving inside the dots a little bit more. And this is where you want to continue to see that progress with him. And okay, like, you know, the growing pains have been significant for Uri at the National Hockey League level. But I'm with you, Tony. I think there's some good. And back to what I said about Marty, you know, there's areas of the game that need improvement, but let's focus in on the positives right now. And I think he's doing that with the individuals, and he's doing it with the group as a whole.
Craig, a couple of games ago, Marty St. Louis took the decision to separate Caufield and Suzuki. He talked about it when he was a player, and he said, you know what, every now and then I was separated from LeCavalier. I ended up playing with Richards. Every now and then I was separated from Richards. I went to play with LeCavalier. Every now and then it's good to be separated from each other. Then you can come back at one point. Going into last night's game, the lines were Suzuki with Newhook on his left and Anderson on his right. Dvorak with Caufield on his left and Slafkovsky on his right. And then Monahan with Gallagher on his right and Pearson on his left. Cole Caufield's got a goal in his last 9 games. Earlier this evening, Michel Bergeron, and it should be noted that the coach reunited Caufield and Suzuki with 12:39 left in period number 3 last night. Earlier this evening, Michel Bergeron said on television, why is Cole Caufield playing with the third-line centerman on the team? And if it wasn't for an injury to Kirby Dach, the guy would be the fourth-line centerman on the team. He's the best shooter on the team. He's the best scorer on the team. Why is he playing with a third/fourth line center? Your thoughts? It's a good question.
So you look at numbers, right? You look at where Cole rang one off the crossbar last night. He had a couple of really good chances. I mean, I worry about players when they're not getting their chances. I haven't seen that with Cole. Listen, I think right now, I get it from a coaching point of view. Like what, and this is the question, what is Alex Newhook and Josh Anderson giving the team right now? Like, what are they giving the team? You know, so you got third line players, maybe players that should be deeper down the lineup, you know, playing on your top line with Suzuki. Like, okay, so maybe you're trying to have Suzuki get those guys going, right? But I mean, Newhook and Anderson, I mean, talk about underperforming.
Yeah.
I mean, what are they giving the team? And now that drags back Suzuki. And now to Michel's point of view, now you've got Slafkovsky, a rookie. Now you got Caufield and Dvorak. Like, what I would say is ask Marty. Like, what's your thinking playing Newhook and Anderson with Suzuki? Because here's my big belief on this. Okay, like, and I'm very clear on it. You know, I hear this from coaches. I've heard it for years. Well, you know what? We're going to put them up with Suzuki and get them going. How about if Josh Anderson and Alex Newhook get themselves going? Why do you have to rely on Nick Suzuki to get you going and maybe hold him back? Get yourself going. You know, Tony, does somebody have to come and wake you up in the morning and put clothes on you and lay out your wardrobe for the day and make your breakfast and then make your lunch? I don't think so. And to me, Josh Anderson and Alex Newhook have been incredibly disappointing.
No, if anything, I tell my wife, if you're going to do anything with my clothes, take them off, not put them on. That's another story. That's another story for another day. All right, okay. Now, listen, it's an interesting point because let's talk about Josh Anderson. Josh Anderson's got one or two things going for him, Craig. Okay, number one is he's drawing more penalties than probably most players in the league. He's got to be, you know, among the top in that category. Okay, number two is that he's in the top 5 on the team in expected goals. But at the end of the day, Craig, and where it counts, and I know where you're getting at, his production in terms of goals so far this season is 0. Now, I think it's safe to say that Josh Anderson's not going to change at this stage of his career with the amount of games that he's played at the National Hockey League level. He is who he is, for the good and for the less good. Yep. Is there anything else that a GM, a coach, anyone could try? If you were managing this player or you were coaching this player, Is there something that you would say to him that probably someone hasn't said to him before? Is there something you would work on? Is there something you would do?
I think I think it's knowing your game, and Josh is a great skater. You talk about drawing the penalties, that's there. Like I think he gets himself into spots in the ice where he overhandles the puck and he tries to be a finesse player instead of a hard driving, shoot the puck, follow the puck to the net player. His game is straight line. His game is got to be played in straight lines. Josh, get the puck. We need a centerman to get you the puck on the move. Take it to the net. Shoot it. I've watched him too many times this year try to finesse the puck. His hands aren't good enough to finesse the puck in there. So shoot it. You know what? Look for a rebound. Somebody else might get a rebound. Knowing your game and knowing what your strengths are, that to me is what has to be emphasized to Josh. And I'm not saying the coaches aren't doing that. I'm not suggesting that they're not emphasizing that. But that's where I would be with Josh. Your game is straight lines. Your game is speed, power. Use it, and not finessing. You gain advantages. You gain some advantages when you're driving like that, and then you lose your advantages by trying to finesse the puck. His game's got to begin with power, and it's got to continue with power. And I find that he gets into those advantages, and then he tries to be something that he's not very good at.
Eric Cole kind of game. Take the puck down the wing, put your head down, stick your shoulder out, drive the net. Right?
Can I ask you a question? Yeah. Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Okay. And I love the beginning of the show with the music and Game 7 in 1979 versus the Bruins. Okay. Now you watched them, I watched them once, right? I would grab tapes and I would say to Josh Anderson, watch number 14, Mario Tremblay. That's how you need to play. Did Mario overhandle the puck? Did Mario finesse the puck? No, Mario played in straight lines. Yvon Lambert played in straight lines. That's what Josh Anderson's got.
Mike McPhee?
Yeah. I mean, another thing, you used Eric Cole. You used, Mike McPhee, straight lines.
Yeah, no, you're right about that. All right, okay. So did you have a chance to hear Brendan Gallagher at the end of the game last night?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, good. I can't wait to get your opinion on this. So let's set the table here. Canadians are losing by a score of 2-1. There's 3 minutes and 12 seconds left in regulation. Brendan Gallagher is behind the Calgary net, battling for position, battling for the puck, and Lindholm ends up falling. The referee who's closest to the play, who's right there, like less than 10 feet away, does not make a call. The referee who's in the neutral zone ends up calling Brendan Gallagher for tripping. He goes to the box. He is absolutely livid. Last night after the game, this is what Brendan Gallagher had to say.
In the neutral zone, it's a terrible call. And you can't make that mistake. So simple as that. Guy turns backwards and hits the net. His partner's right there. Let him call. The reason he calls is their bench makes noise and he reacts to it. Can't happen. He can't make that mistake. It's obviously a real important part of the game. He's in the neutral zone. His partner's right there looking at it. He didn't have a penalty called. Their bench reacts and he makes a reactionary call. It can't happen at this level, and he knows that.
Obviously, for copyright reasons, we can't show him talking with members of the media, but big mistake. He knows it. It can't happen. His partner's right there. He's in the neutral zone. He's the one making the call. Just can't happen, right? He went on to say, and I don't have the audio of it, but I think he talked about, like in football, referees can talk to each other after a call is made to say, hold on a second. You sure about that call? Let's review it. And he says, you don't have that in hockey. Once they call you for tripping, you're going to the box for tripping. That's it. That's all. What do you make of Brendan's comments regarding his frustration that the referee that's in the neutral zone makes the call? And what do you make of his comments that in football, it's not like this?
Okay, so I'm going to start with the last one first, and hockey has come a lot of it has made some real forward strides. They do talk about a lot of things in the game. They, there's penalties that they look at. They can talk to one another and say, okay, that's a 5 or it's not a 5, or you know what, it's an error in high stick. It shouldn't have been called. So we do have that to a degree. Number two, going to the middle question, Brendan is a battler, and Brendan's in the fight. He's in the battle at all times. So to me, you're looking at that, and he's right. Those are moments in the game where you can't react to a bench, and I'm not suggesting the referee did. Number one, and most importantly, right? And I go back to do you remember Cale McCarr when he got tripped and he put up his hand and said, no, I fell? Right, and the referee didn't call the penalty. Right?
That was something.
Why can't a referee do that? Why can't the referee right there and then say no? Like it's not a penalty. It's not a penalty. Sorry. And you're working as a team. You're working as a group.
What it's going to do the hockey world, though, Craig, and social media and everyone talking about games being fixed and rigged and this and that and all that stuff.
Yeah, but, wait a second. Okay. So fair enough. But what do we hear now? Okay, why don't they talk? So why don't we? Everybody wants to have the call right. The benefit that we get with video, and video is everywhere, and we have great camera angles everywhere, right? Like if that referee just put up his hand and said, no, not a penalty, don't worry, I'm waving this off here because I got a better view of it. And remember, referees are asked to look in on different areas in the offensive zone. I understand, Brandon, why is he calling that? But what their responsibilities are and what they're looking for in the offensive zone are different. But like if it comes out after that, the bottom line was the referee waving it off, that was the right call, then nobody should be concerned about it. But when you get the wrong call, that creates a bigger problem. And everybody talks about, let's just get it right. If Brendan tripped the guy, like you might be frustrated. Geez, I was just in there. But when it's not the right call is when frustrations mount, and everybody knows that it wasn't the right call. I was watching the game, and I was paying attention to the game, and then I had to rewind it because I was doing the Winnipeg Jets panel, and then I rewound it and I saw it and I said, "Oh boy, that." Like I can understand why Brendan was so upset.
Yeah. We're going to go to Mapper in just a minute here. But before we do, I want to ask you two very, very quick ones, okay? Kent Hughes was asked about the 3-goalie system. Caden Primo's played a couple of games now. His last game that he played versus the Red Wings obviously was a very, very good game for him. Yep. He was asked about the 3-goalie system, and he said, well, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So it kind of sounds like he wants to go with it for a little bit longer. Samuel Montembeault, we're hearing that the Canadiens are in talks with his clan and that they're very, very close on a contract. So two very quick questions for you. Number one, now that we're hearing they're going to sign Montembeault, what is the contract you think he's going to get? Once again, Jake Allen makes 3.85 this year and 3.5 next year. A, what do you think the contract that Montembeault is going to get is? And B, 3 goalies here. Is there a trade to be had with the Edmonton Oilers? Yes or no?
I think there's a trade to be had with a few teams, in the league. I would suggest that Samuel, like if I'm looking from the outside in, could it be around a 3.25 average, 6.5 on a 2-year deal? I'm not so sure how long you want to go on Samuel. Maybe a 3-year deal at 10 million or 10.5. That's what I would. That's where I think. I mean, he played really well last year. He's got a level of play that I think isn't going to fall off. His technique is good. His skills are good. So, that's what I would expect. I'm not expecting a 4-year deal or a 5-year deal. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's where I would see it coming in at. I said this a few weeks ago when we were together.
Yeah.
I said, I think Jake Allen should be a target for any number of teams. Any number of teams, Jake Allen should be a target. And for the Edmonton Oilers, who do not have an NHL backup and a young goaltender in Stuart Skinner, I think Jake Allen would be a perfect fit there. I think the question now comes from Montreal, Kent Hughes and his group, is what do you want back from the Edmonton Oilers? And
McDavid.
Well, okay. And if it's
Draisaitl
not
will do.
okay, yeah. Well, if it's not McDavid, then it's got to be Draisaitl, right? Like,
Fogel.
Yeah. Well, I mean, whatever it may be, that's where this. But I don't think it's just. I talked about Buffalo earlier. I talked about the Buffalo Sabres.
Yeah.
The Buffalo Sabres with Devin Levi there and UPL, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen. I think that Jake Allen could go into Buffalo, go into Edmonton now, and provide some real stability in the goaltending position for those organizations. So those are just two places that I think should be. Wait a sec, not might be, should be interested in talking to Montreal about Jake Allen.
Before I say goodbye to you, why don't we bring in Mapper? This way he has a chance to say hello to you, and then we can both say goodbye to you, all right? Marc-André Perreault from TVA Sport. Hey, it's not often that we get TVA Sport and TSN on at the same time, so I wanted to give you this opportunity.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good, MA. How are you doing? It's always
good.
MA, maybe we can do this one night. Eric Engels and I joined Tony. And, when you get – to me, my belief, and I told this to Tony, I told this to Eric, I'll say this to you, you're passionate, you're knowledgeable about the game, and we get an opportunity to talk about the Montreal Canadiens with Tony, I welcome the opportunity. So, Tony, you got to make this happen.
We're going to make it happen, and you better make
Trust
it happen.
me,
Well, you
it's
told
an
me.
honor.
You told me you're coming down to Montreal at some point during the holiday season. So we're going to have a bite to eat or a drink together. So you better make that happen, eh? You're going to follow through on that? You're coming to see family, are you not?
I have no reason not to follow through on it.
Yeah.
I'll be there. I'll be there too if you don't mind.
No, not at all. You're welcome.
Craig Button, always a pleasure. Have yourself a great night.
Thank you, Tony, and
Thank you very much.
enjoy your time with Tony, MA.
I sure will. Thanks.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Craig Button.
Good
All
night.
right, there you have it. Director of Scouting with TSN. I love that guy. And I love this guy. Hey,
Legend.
look, wow, this is a nice setting that you have. This is not a hotel room. This is
No, it's not. It's not. It's an apartment. But it
Wow.
just, it's a great setup now.
So I heard you say something,
Oh,
which
did
I believe was on La Poche Bleu Blanc Rouge, if I'm not mistaken.
Last night? Yes.
I think
what
it
did
was
I say?
last night with
Yeah.
André Roy and Eric Bélanger, if memory serves me well.
Yeah.
You were at the arena. It was right after the game, and I think they
was.
started talking about Caden Primo. And you said Marty St. Louis doesn't like the three-goalie system.
I don't think so. Well, is there one coach who would like that system? I mean, he's lucky, but good thing is that things are working right now. Well, saying that the goalies are not the reason why this team is, is having montagne russe. How do you say that in a roller coaster?
Yeah, I guess.
But I'm sure he doesn't like that. Every time he has to put Primo in net, and I'm not saying he doesn't like Caden Primo. It's just that it's all about balance. And now you have three goalies. You have to put him in net, and you can tell in the scrum the morning he's not pleased with that situation. But that's part of hockey, right? You're normally the coach is doing all the decision, but you have contracts and a lot of things. So, but I'm sure doesn't like it.
Were you at a practice today by chance?
I was not.
I had a chance to see it on social media for those who were there, including your colleague at TVA Sport, Anthony Martineau, was there. Marty St. Louis was asked, I think he was asked even by Eric Engels a couple of days ago. He said, "Hey, Marty, is there anything that you can do in practice to basically try and work on scoring goals?" And so you saw it today. There was a lot of finishing drills tonight, right? Earlier today it was shooting. Adam Nicholas was there. You were seeing Slafkovsky take shots, a lot of them. And Slafkovsky was saying at the end of practice, I like these kind of practices because normally you probably take 30 shots per practice. And on a day like today, you're probably taking 80 shots per practice. So probably 3 times more shots than you took before. It's going to help with your shooting. It's going to help with your scoring.
Of course. But, last night was a good example that things are not going bad for Montreal. You take Josh Anderson. I think he had like 4 or 5 good scoring chances, hit the crossbar, shoot right in the mid of the goalie. He was 5 foot away from. So he's playing well. He's skating fast, going. Comment tu dis ça, dépasser le défenseur.
Yeah, skating by the defender. I wouldn't have put him on though late in the game on a power play. He
Why
stayed
not?
good.
I mean, he's
Because I
hot.
would go with guys who are scoring goals as of late or are
Well,
hotter.
I mean, he's doing everything but scoring, but he's doing all the good things.
You know, he's doing everything but scoring. You're going to get married. You're going to go on the honeymoon. You're going to do everything but. I mean,
You know what? It's funny because the guys
the end of
were
the
saying
day,
pretty much this. They were saying
you
pretty
know?
much the same thing. But I have no problem with Josh Anderson being on the ice because he's one of the hottest player right now. Hottest by his play. It's not all about scoring, but he's playing well. It's gonna come. That's for sure. So I have no problem with that. He played well. Who else? Slav played well. It's at one point, it's just a matter of getting that bounce, getting that puck in, and then the confidence come back, and you're in business.
I hear you. Okay, 12:39 left in regulation. Marty St. Louis reunites Caufield and Suzuki. Your thoughts?
I mean, you need goal, so you put what you think are your two best players. I'm not sure they are the best players right now. I think Sean Monahan is better. But yeah, they did well. They did well. So I have no problem with that. Caufield is playing good hockey. I like the way he's getting
cold right now, though.
involved. But he's cold, and that's a problem. It's like Josh Anderson.
Yeah.
I can tell you all night long that he's skating well and he's involved, but at the end of the day, it's not going in. But the one who's I'm worried about is more Suzuki. He's always been streaky, and right now it's not just you take Josh Anderson and Cole Caufield, you can see them. You can actually see them. Suzuki right now, I just don't see him a lot. I'm not saying he's playing bad.
You're not hitting the panic button, are you?
Not at all. Not at all. No, because it's been like that since the beginning of his career. No, do not touch it. Do not.
Panic sequence in 3, 2, 1.
You did. Hold on a second. I have another message for you. Ready?
Panic. Don't panic. Now panic.
So
I love this story.
You are panicking.
Not bad for less than $15, by the way. Pretty good value.
So no, I'm not panicking. It's just that sometimes it goes. He's so streaky, and it's not that he's playing bad when he's not hot. It's just that you don't see him. You don't see those small plays that makes him a very good player.
Your buddy Le Tigre had a pretty good point tonight. Michel Montbel-Bergeron, who said, okay, let's take a look at the centerman. Suzuki, Monahan, Dvorak. Dvorak's third-line centerman on this team. If Doc would be there, it'd be the fourth-line centerman on this team.
That would be best-case scenario, right?
So why is your best scorer playing with your fourth-best centerman? It's not a bad point. I mean, I understand balancing the lines. Really, I get it. But let me ask you a question. How many teams will play their best scorer with their fourth-best centerman?
Not often, right?
I don't know. I'm trying to think of some right now. I'm not so sure I can.
But the balance is gone with Doc being injured. But I don't know.
That injury, they're starting to feel it now. You can make up for it for a little bit of time, but at one point, and you know what? David Savard's injury doesn't help them either. I mean, say what you want about David Savard. He's a top 3 defenseman on the Montreal Canadiens right now.
Right now, it's funny because I was following them to go on the press box last night. Savard looks, he looks normal. Doc is having these crutches.
Crutches,
yeah. I was like, man, if they could come back, that would help this team so much because Newhook, you can, he's fast, but does he really produce something right now? No. So I'm not saying, it's he's a bad player or whatever, but right now he's kind of looking for his, for his game.
Yeah. Craig Button was saying before that Newhook and Anderson, they're not giving you all that much because at the end of the day, you want production. You're not getting as much as you would have thought you were going to get with them. I asked him about Samuel Montembeault. We hear that, of course, the two sides are close. I said, Craig, what would you give him? He said, Tony, I'd give him 2 years, $6.5 million total, or 3 years, 10 million, 3 years, 10.5 max. I'm not going to 4 years or more with Montembeault. What would you give him, and how many years do you think he's going to sign?
I don't think Kent Hughes is willing to give him that money. I think, Kent Hughes he is so focused, and he is trying as much as possible to put feelings away. And Samuel Montembeault, his value I think, is higher because of what he means. He's a French Canadian. He's a good kid. He's playing well. So
He's doing
I think
endorsements here. He's doing commercials.
exactly. So I think on the Samuel side, obviously you're gonna tell me it's obvious what I'm going to say, but they think they're worth more than what Kent is and Jeff are willing to pay him right now. It's so tough because.
But if I was his agent, I would ask for the same amount of money that Allen gets, whether he's going to get it or not. That's what I'm asking for. I'm saying, guys, you gave Jake Allen $3.85 million, and Samuel outplayed him last year.
That's a minimum.
So can we get 3.85 to start?
To start, yeah.
I would.
But I would sign him for. I mean, I would be willing to give him 4 or 5 years because probably he's going to end up being second goalie or 1B, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I hope.
Well, when the Canadiens are going to be a contender, I would think that Montembeault is not going to be the number one.
Of course. That's a fact. So I hope he's going to, I wish him the best, but I don't think it's going to, in the long run, he's going to be the first goalie. But
are you at all concerned with Caufield's 1 goal in his last 9 games, even though he's leading the Canadiens in points?
No, he's playing well. He's having good looks. What was it? It was 8 shots last night.
Yeah.
So he's shooting the puck. He had 9 shots. Was it in Detroit or something like that?
Do you think do you think Slafkovsky is playing as? You're cutting up here. You're cutting up. You sound like R2D2. I think we lost Mapper. All of a sudden, the Wi-Fi just started to, and anyway, he's got to put himself on data, I guess. But anyway, we're probably about to wrap up. To tell you the truth, I just was going to ask him about Caufield, 1 goal in his last 9, which I just did. And I was going to ask him about Slafkovsky if he thought that he was playing as well as Marty St. Louis says that he has been playing as of late. I think we got him back. Let's ask him right now.
Sorry about that.
No, don't worry about it. It's all good. No,
So what I was saying, yeah, Caufield, I have no problem. I actually think he's playing good hockey right now, so I don't mind.
Okay, Slafkovsky, do you think that he's playing as good as Marty St. Louis says he's playing?
Better than ever. Last 3 games.
I like his last 3 games. His last 3 games.
And last night, it's funny because to me, I'm not a specialist, but to me, there's one thing that doesn't lie. How many times do I have your name on my sheet? Because I'm taking notes during the game. And do I have, for example, Newhook? I don't have him on my sheet. Never. You're not gonna see Newhook name on my on the paper. But Slafkovsky, yes.
You know who wasn't on my sheet last night?
Who?
RHP. RHP did not play a good game last night. Il a pas bien joué, RHP, last night.
I thought they had a pretty decent game, left fourth line. I saw him around there. I mean, I'm not saying...
I think he's struggling.
He is, but he's obviously injured. That's, obviously. But no, I actually thought this line played pretty well. Thing is... And it's just normal. We saw him having so much success last year. Everything was going in. So we expect that from him. But I'm not looking for points when I'm watching RHP.
I don't know what's going on with your sound, but it's either sounds like you're burping or something. But you know what I mean? It's like a very, very weird sound. But it's okay because I was just going to let you go. But if I can, do you hear me better now? Because when you were talking, you were making it's making weird noises when you're talking. I don't know what it is.
Hear you well. I don't know, man.
Yeah. Okay. It's too bad. But if you can, in ending, I want to bring up a picture. Before we do, today is a very sad day in the city of Montreal, in the province of Quebec, for Francophones, for Quebecers. Some Anglophones know Karl Tremblay, and they know of Les Cowboys Fringants, but every Francophone does, and most Quebecers do. He is a big part of Quebec folklore. Can you begin to explain, based on what I've read to try and understand, Karl Tremblay and Les Cowboys Fringants are kind of like what what Tragically Hip was for Canadians. They were that for Quebecers. Let's bring up the picture if we can. Today, once again, is a very, very sad day. The province of Quebec is in mourning because Karl Tremblay passed away at just age 47 with prostate cancer. Mapper?
Exactly. Yes. Can you hear me now?
I can, yeah.
Okay. I would invite everyone listening to, if you have one song to listen, it's called Les Étoiles Filantes. So shooting stars in French, okay? Les Étoiles Filantes. And if you can understand what they're saying, imagine a young French Canadian listening to this song at age 15, 18, 20, and then you're listening to it. It's very powerful, and to me, it's the biggest band in the history of Quebec, and we've had a lot of good ones, but it's very sad. 47 years of age, 2 kids. Man, it's so sad. But
Mapper, once again, we're having problems with our connection and your sound. I think you gave us a very, very good understanding of just how big a loss the loss of Karl Tremblay was earlier today of Les Cowboys Fringants. So because we're having a bad sound, we'll let you go. But once again, we'll dedicate this show to him. It's way too young. Quebec is in mourning. May he rest in peace. For all of you, I hope you enjoyed the podcast tonight. Like it, share with your friends, comment, SICK for, of course, the Sick Podcast. And if you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple, it's always very, very much appreciated. For Agnello, Sammy, Juliana, and Master Control, and Marc-André Perreault of TVA Spot, on behalf of everyone at the Sick Podcast, our thoughts and prayers go out to all family and friends of Karl Tremblay of Les Cowboys Fringants. We'll be back tomorrow night when the Montreal Canadiens host the Vegas Golden Knights, and pretty much 10 or 15 minutes after the game, it'll hit 10 p.m. And once again, we will bring you the Sick Podcast at 10 p.m. tomorrow night. Thanks, everyone, for watching, and have a good night.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaVie.tb, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.